But with that said, let's jump into this episode. Starting at number 10, we have Bilal Phillips. Dr. Abu Amina Bilal Phillips is a Jamaican-Canadian Islamic scholar who converted to Islam in the early 70s. Shortly after becoming a Muslim, he then began a journey to seek Islamic knowledge. That journey then took him to Saudi Arabia, where he completed a bachelor's in arts in Islamic studies in Medina and also an MA in Islamic theology in Riyadh. Then he went to the University of Wales, UK, where he completed a PhD in Islamic theology in the early 1990s.
When you look at the consequences, besides the fabrication of hadith,
Number 9 brings us Yusuf Estes. Sheikh Yusuf Estes is an American Muslim preacher as well as a teacher, and he had converted from Christianity to Islam in the year 1991. And this was after meeting a Muslim man when he was in Egypt. He was a Muslim chaplain for the United States Bureau of Prisons from 1994 up until the year 2000. And also he was a Muslim delegate to the United Nations World Peace Conference for Religious Leaders that was held at the UN in September 2000. Now what he does is he works to share the religion of Islam, as well as he hopes to share the correct message with the youth, new Muslims, as well as others in very simple English terms. He also tries to make the religion of Islam as well as the Quran as understandable as possible.
All of us are susceptible to people telling us stuff from the time we're born. We don't know. I'm a little kid, I'm born and I come into the world and people start telling me stuff. Who's the person I'm going to trust the very most?
Khalid Yasin is next. Sheikh Khalid Yasin is what is known as a da'i, and this is basically somebody who speaks publicly about the Islamic faith in order to really inspire the spiritual and moral conscience of the listeners, or also to just educate and inform people about the Islamic faith. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and he learned to speak about inequality. Now, he grew up in foster homes from the age of 3, along with some of his siblings up until the age of 15 years old. He describes each of these foster homes as having a different Christian denomination, so he actually covered a lot of different denominations of Christianity growing up. Prior to his conversion to Islam, he was a gang member as well, and he converted to Islam in the year 1965.
God sent a prophet from among the Bani Israel. All the prophets came from a designated group of people.
The scholar at number 7 is Yusha Evans. Now, this man, Yusha Evans, was born and raised in Greenville, South Carolina in the United States into a very conservative Christian family. Now, during his early teens, he was really involved in the church, and that church is called Young Life, which is a non-denominational organization centered around the youth, and he actually had intentions of becoming a preacher. But later he converted to the religion of Islam in December of 1998, and Yusha, which comes from the name Joshua, he currently travels all around the world as a lecturer as well as a caller to Islam, and he also teaches workshops depending on where he is in different parts of the world.
Muslims, who I thought were the worst people on earth, could have the right religion. That was just something my brain was not ready to to comprehend.
Hamza Yusuf is at number 6. Hamza Yusuf was born as Mark Hansen in Washington, and he grew up as a Greek Orthodox Christian. Now, in the year 1977, after a near-death experience in a car accident and then reading the Quran for himself, he converted from Christianity to Islam. Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he spent 2 decades studying with the scholars over in the Middle East as well as different parts of Africa, and after returning to the United States, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he co-founded what is known as the Zaytuna College, and this is America's first accredited Muslim liberal arts college, and it's based in California. Alright guys, so let's get back into this episode. At number 5, we have the scholar Abdur Rahim Green. Abdur Rahim Green was born in 1962 in Tanzania to a British father and a Polish mother, and he grew up as a Roman Catholic. Now fast forward to the year 1987, after struggling with his Roman Catholic upbringing as well as also practicing Buddhism for a short time, believe it or not, Abdur Rahim Green, he began his journey to Islam, and he officially converted in the year 1988. 8. He soon became a regular at the Popular Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park over in London. And that's where he practiced dawah, which is a call to Islam. And that was done on a regular basis.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is Khatam al-Nabiyyin. He is the seal of the messengers. So that responsibility falls upon us.
Scholar number 4 is Hamza Andreas Sortsis, and he's a Muslim convert of Greek descent, as well as he's the author of The Divine Reality, God, Islam, and the Mirage of Atheism. He's a well-known public speaker as well as an instructor, and he has a master's and a postgraduate certificate in philosophy from the University of London. Hamza has studied Islamic thought and theology under qualified scholars, and he's delivered various different workshops as well as different courses and an accredited diploma course on topics related to Islamic thought as well as Islamic philosophy. Almost at the end of this episode, number 3 brings us Suhaib Webb. Now, Suhaib Webb was born William Webb into a Christian family, and his grandfather was also a Christian preacher. But as time went on, before he converted to Islam and long before he was considered a Muslim cleric actually, Imam Suhaib Webb lost complete interest in any religion. He became a street gangster, specifically a member of the Bloods gang, and he also became a hip-hop DJ and a producer. But after converting to Islam, he founded SWIS, which stands for the Suhaib Webb Institute of Sacred Sciences. And this, by the way, is an Islamic educational experience that uses multiple teaching methods in a structured curriculum so that people can build their Islamic literacy. Only 2 more scholars to look at, and number 2 brings us Dr. Lawrence B. Brown. Born as a Christian American up until his conversion to Islam in April of 1994, Dr. Brown was definitely somebody that anyone looking in would say like, well, yeah, he's living the stereotypical American dream. He's a graduate from 2 Ivy League universities, and he also served as a respected ophthalmologist in the United States Air Force for 8 years. Now, after a personal miracle where his daughter's life was saved, Dr. Brown changed his focus to religious studies, and he ended up in the religion of Islam. And finally, our scholar number 1 in this episode is Nuha Mim Keller. He's an Islamic scholar, teacher, as well as an author. Nuha Mim Keller studied philosophy and Arabic at the University of Chicago and the University of California, Los Angeles. He converted to Islam from Roman Catholicism in the year 1977. Now, on top of teaching Sufism, which is like the spiritual inner dimension of Islam, he has also written several books and articles on a wide range of subjects. And probably one of the most prominent of his works to this very date is The Reliance of the Traveler. And by the way, that's an annotated English translation of the Umdat al-Salik, which is a Shafi'i legal work by Ahmad ibn Naqib al-Misri. It contains over 6,000 legal rulings, as well as it was the first English translation of an Islamic legal work to be certified by the Al-Azhar University. Starting at number 10, we have Amina Asilmi. Formerly a Southern Baptist preacher, she converted to Islam in the year 1977 in college while trying to convert some Muslims to Christianity. As the director of the International Union of Muslim Women, she visited campuses discussing Islam. She was made one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the world in 2009 by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center in Amman, Jordan. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have Lady Evelyn Murray. She confirmed her conversion to Islam back in the year 1915. Yeah, way back in the day. And she took on the Arabic name Zainab. She remarked that she considered Islam the religion most calculated to solve the world's many perplexing problems and to bring humanity peace. Next up at number 8, we have Jamie Fletcher. Jamie Mujahid Fletcher is a filmmaker and a member of the National Association of Latino Independent Producers, or the NALIP. He is the owner and CEO of the advertising agency Focus Point Studios, and he was a former Catholic Christian. He studied Christianity as well as Hinduism, and he also studied Buddhism, and one of the religions that he studied was Islam. and he converted to Islam at a Muslim convention in Florida. He is a youth advocate and the founder of the Andalusia Media Arts Center. As a public speaker, he has covered topics about Latinos, youth, Islam, film, and media, and he's done this at many different institutions. Coming in at number 7, we have Shah Shahidullah Faridi. He embraced Islam after reading the Kashf al-Mahjub, which is the unveiling of the veiled. And this is the classical treatise of Sufism written by Ali ibn Uthman al-Hujwiri. Despite being born and raised in a wealthy English family, well, he decided to leave and seek sheikhs, Sufi sheikhs. And when he found a couple of them, that's when he decided to pledge his life to following this path. Cat Stevens comes in at number 6. Cat Stevens formally converted to Islam on December 23rd, 1977, and he took the name Yusuf Islam in 1978. Yusuf is an Arabic rendition of the name Joseph, and he stated that he always loved the name Joseph and was particularly drawn to the story of Joseph in the Quran. Although he discontinued his pop career, he was persuaded to perform one last time before what became a 25-year musical hiatus. In the year 1979, he auctioned off all of his guitars for charity and left his musical career to devote himself to educational and philanthropic causes in the Muslim community. Next up at number 5, we have Ibn Jazla. Ibn Jazla was a Baghdad-based 11th century Arab physician who wrote an influential regimen treatise that was translated into Latin in 1280 AD by the Sicilian Jewish physician Faraj ben Salam. Ibn Jazla was born to a Christian Nestorian parents in Baghdad, and he converted to Islam in 1074. He died in 1100, the year 1100, under the tutelage of Abu Ali ibn al-Walid al-Maghribi. Number 4 leads us to Rebecca Salsabil Ibrahim. Rebecca is a retired Latvian weightlifter, 2-time junior world champion and 2-time European champion who competed in the 58 kilogram division until 2018 and in the 59 kilogram division starting in 2018 after the International Weightlifting Federation recognized the categories. In spring of 2020, she became engaged to the Qatari discus thrower Moaz Mohammed Ibrahim, and on July 26, she announced via her Instagram account that she had converted to Islam. Number 3 brings us Sinead O'Connor. Born in Ireland on August 12, 1966, Sinead O'Connor converted to Islam in the year 2018, and that's when she took on a new name. She took to Twitter to make her announcement and has made numerous posts since thanking her Muslim brothers and sisters, and has even shared a video of her also, reciting the Azan, which is the Muslim call to prayer. Next up at number 2, Stephen J. Jackson. Stephen Jesse Jackson is an American former professional basketball player who played for 14 seasons in the NBA. On January 6, 2021, he officially converted to Islam. He also went on to say this, and I quote, "Everything I have today is because I get on my knees and pray 5 times a day. I wouldn't be able to wake up, breathe, and provide for my child if I didn't get on my knees and worship Allah. Allah is in control, and every one of us in creation is reliant on Allah in every moment. It is only when we realize this that this inner peace descends upon us, and that is what Islam is all about. Salam, peace." Concluding this episode, in at the number 1 spot, we have Andrew Tate. His full name is Emery Andrew Tate III, and he's an American-British internet personality as well as a former professional kickboxer. His African-American father, Emery Tate, was a chess international master, and his mother worked as a catering assistant. And he grew up Christian, but he began to show a lot of interest in Islam over the years. Then in October of 2022, Andrew Tate, he announced on his Getter account that he had converted to Islam. And there's also a video of Andrew Tate praying at a mosque in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and that went viral. And of course, now he's become very, very public in his stance that yes, he is now Muslim.
First up on the list, we have the famous Mahershala Ali. He was born on February 16, 1974, who is an American actor and a rapper. Ali was born into a Christian family. Ali is known as an actor for his role on House of Cards as Remy Danton, as well as Colonel Stokes in Marvel's Luke Cage and Colonel Boggs in The Hunger Games. So Mahershala's interest in acting rose after he took on the play Spunk. He went on to joining University of New York's acting program. While studying there, he ended up converting to Islam and changed his surname from Gilmore to Ali. Ali is now known as the 100 most influential people as of 2019. Next up on the list, we have Franck Ribéry. Franck Ribéry was born on April 7, 1983. He was a French professional football player and was known as one of the greatest French players of his time. In 2002, he ended up converting to Islam with the influence of his Algerian descendant wife. After converting to Islam, he took on the name Bilal Yusuf Muhammad. Next up on the list, we have the legendary basketball player of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. In his career, he's achieved many records from NBA All-Stars, NBA MVPs, and NBA Final MVPs. He was honored as one of the 50 greatest players of NBA history. While growing up, Abdul-Jabbar grew up in New York City as a Roman Catholic. At the age of 24, Kareem decided to convert to Islam and change his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Next up on the list, we have Sinead O'Connor, who is one of the greatest Irish songwriters and singer. O'Connor rose to fame in the late 1980s with her debut album, The Lion and the Cobra, and eventually achieved worldwide success in the 1990s. In her career, she's had 10 solo albums, many singles, many collaborations, and has also made songs for films. While growing up, Sinead grew up as a Roman Catholic, and she'd had very strong opinions and views about religion, war, child abuse, and women's rights. In 2018, she decided to accept Islam and decided to change her name to Shahada Sadaqah. Up next is Malcolm X, who's one of the most prominent Muslim figures of modern history. Malcolm X was a Muslim minister and a human rights activist. Malcolm X spent his teenage years in foster homes after his dad passed away. In 1946, Malcolm X was sentenced 10 years in prison for breaking and entering. While in prison, he ended up joining the group called Nation of Islam, and over time, he became the organization's most influential leader. In the 1960s, Malcolm X grew apart from the Nation of Islam and ended up joining as a Sunni Muslim. After embracing as a Sunni Muslim, he is now known as Al-Hajj Malik Al-Shabazz. After converting to a Sunni Muslim, there started to become a lot of conflict between him and the Nation of Islam. So unfortunately, as the conflict grew between the two, in 1961, he was assassinated. Janet Jackson is the youngest member of the Jackson family and has been a huge cultural icon. In her amazing career, she has sold over 160 million records and has won 5 Grammys for her amazing hits. Janet Jackson and the Jackson family growing up were Jehovah's Witness. After Janet married the Muslim billionaire Wasim Al-Mana, she converted to Islam in 2015. Next up, we have the other Jackson sibling, Jermaine Jackson. Just like his siblings, he's also a singer and a songwriter, and he's had many hits in his career. So in this pretty cool story, Jermaine Jackson ended up meeting his wife in 2004 in a Starbucks line. Like can you guys imagine? And the two got married by the end of the year in a mosque in Los Angeles. Just like the rest of the family, he was raised to follow Jehovah's Witness, and later in 1989, he ended up converting to Islam after his trip in Bahrain. So in his trip to Bahrain, he was very impressed by the children and the way they were devoted to their religion, Islam. Next up on the list is Danny Blum, who is a German professional football player. Danny began his professional soccer career with the German association football club called SV Sandhausen. After joining the club, he won a title in 2012. In 2014, he ended up joining or transferring to another German association football club, FC Nürnberg. Shortly after joining this new club, he ended up injuring his knee where he had to take 6 months off. During these 6 months, he was talking to his friends and religion was brought up, and they started talking about Islam. Later on, he took the decision to convert to Islam, and he described Islam as a religion of hope and strength. Danny Blum has since been a devoted follower of Islam. He's been praying 5 times a day. Next up on the list is Cat Stevens, who is known as one of the most influential singers and songwriters of all times. Cat achieved great success in the 1960s as a teen idol. In 1975, Cat experienced a life-changing event where he was swimming in the Pacific Ocean and was pulled into the sea. While in trouble, he started praying to God, and he prayed that if he was saved, he would devote his life to God. 2 years later, his brother gave him a copy of the Quran, and he started to embrace the Quran. After embracing the Quran, he changed his name to Yusuf Islam, and he ended up shocking the world by leaving his career and his fame behind to raise a family. Next up, we have one of the greatest and one of my favorite people to ever exist of all time, Muhammad Ali, who is a professional boxer and a philanthropist. Before he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, he was known as Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. In 1960, he became an Olympic gold medalist, and in 1964, he became the world heavyweight champion and ended up defending his title 19 times. In 1961, he ended up converting to Islam and changed his name to Muhammad Ali. In 1966, during the time of the Vietnam War, Ali refused to be drafted into the military. He was then arrested and found guilty of draft evasion, and he was stripped of his boxing titles. But shortly after, he was eventually released. He is widely regarded as one of the most significant sport figures as well as a Muslim figure of the 20th century.